The massive alien fleet appeared in the Kuiper Belt without warning. At first, the Deep Space Monitoring Station at Pluto thought it was a glitch in their systems. Tom Wilson, the night shift operator, blinked hard at his screen and took another sip of his coffee. The readings made no sense. Hundreds of massive objects had just appeared. "Control, this is Pluto Station. We're picking up some weird readings out here," Tom said into his microphone, trying to keep his voice steady. He tapped a few commands into his console, double-checking the data. Multiple large objects just showed up in the Kuiper Belt. Initial count shows over 300 vessels. The response from Earth came several hours later, delayed by the vast distance. By then, the entire station was awake and monitoring the situation. The fleet wasn't moving. Instead, it just hung there, drifting slowly in the void. That's when they picked up the first distress signal. The message was clear despite being in an alien language. The universal sound of panic and desperation needed no translation. The fleet was in trouble, and they needed help fast. Director Anna Roberts stood before the UN Space Council, her face grave as she delivered the report. "Ladies and gentlemen, what we're dealing with is unprecedented. The alien fleet consists of 342 vessels, ranging in size from what appear to be small shuttles to massive ships several kilometers in length. Based on our analysis of their transmissions, they're carrying approximately 2.3 million refugees." The council chamber erupted in murmurs. Anna waited for them to quiet down before continuing. "Their main drive systems have suffered a catastrophic failure. They're running on emergency power, and according to our best estimates, they have less than 3 weeks of life support remaining." "What do they want from us?" asked the Russian representative, his face skeptical. "Surely such an advanced civilization doesn't expect help from us." Anna smiled slightly. "That's the interesting part. They don't know we're here. Their distress calls are being broadcast on all frequencies, but they're aimed toward the galactic core. They're expecting help from their own kind. We just happen to be close enough to hear them." The Chinese representative leaned forward. "And what do you propose we do, Director Roberts?" "We help them," she said simply. "We have the resources, we have the ships, and most importantly, we have the moral obligation. This could be humanity's first contact with an alien civilization. Do we want to be remembered as the species that sat back and watched millions die when we could have helped?" The council chamber fell silent. The weight of the decision pressed down on everyone present. This wasn't just about saving lives. This was about humanity's place in the galaxy. The council president, an older man from Nigeria, stood up slowly. "What resources would we need?" "Everything we've got," Anna replied. "Every space-worthy vessel, every trained astronaut, every engineer who can work in Zerog. This will be the largest rescue operation in human history." The voting took less than an hour. The decision was unanimous. Humanity would attempt the rescue. As the massive rescue fleet prepared to launch from Earth's orbital shipyards, the alien vessels continued their silent drift through the Kuiper Belt. Their distress calls grew more urgent with each passing hour, their power reserves dropping steadily. Little did they know that help was coming from the most unexpected source, a young species they had passed by without a second glance, a primitive civilization they hadn't even bothered to contact. They were about to learn that humanity, despite its relatively simple technology, had something unique to offer the galaxy. The rescue ships broke orbit one by one, their engines flaring bright against Earth's night sky. As they accelerated toward the stranded fleet, they carried with them not just supplies and tools, but the very essence of what made humans special: their creativity, their determination, and their unwavering desire to help those in need. The greatest rescue mission in human history had begun. The human rescue fleet approached the stranded alien vessels with careful precision. Captain Mark Reed stood on the bridge of the lead ship, the HSV Mercy, watching as the massive alien fleet grew larger on their view screens. Their ships were beautiful, all smooth curves and gleaming metal that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. All ships maintain distance at 500 kilometers, Mark ordered. Begin broadcasting first contact package on all frequencies. The first contact package was simple: mathematical sequences, basic atomic structures, and images of peaceful human activities. It was humanity's way of saying, "We come in peace, and we're smart enough to talk to." The response came faster than anyone expected. A beam of light shot from the largest alien vessel, creating a three-dimensional hologram in the middle of Mercy's bridge. The image showed a tall, elegant being with features that seemed almost crystalline. "This is High Commander Vale of the Asterian Refugee Fleet." The being spoke, its words automatically translated by the human AI systems. "Your signals are unexpected. We do not recognize your species." Mark stepped forward. "I'm Captain Mark Reed of the human space vessel Mercy. We received your distress call, and we're here to help." The alien commander's crystalline features shifted in what might have been surprise or dismay. "Help from humans. Our scans show your technology is barely past primitive fusion drives. You cannot possibly assist us." "With all due respect, Commander," Mark replied, keeping his voice steady, "we're the only ones who showed up. Your people are running out of time." The hologram flickered as Vale turned to consult with others off-screen. The humans waited patiently, knowing this moment would define their relationship with the first alien civilization they'd encountered. "Our situation is dire," Vale finally admitted. "Our quantum fold drives experienced a cascading failure when we attempted to jump too close to your solar system's gravity well. We have over 2 million civilians aboard, including many young ones. Our life support systems are failing." "We've brought engineers, supplies, and spare parts," Mark said. "Let us at least try." The alien commander's expression was unreadable, but the pause that followed spoke volumes. Pride warred with desperation as Vale considered the offer from a species they considered primitive. "Very well," Vale finally said. "We accept your assistance. But be warned, our technology is far beyond your understanding. Do not damage our systems with your primitive tools." Mark bit back a smile. "Understood, Commander. We'll begin docking procedures immediately. Our engineers are ready to assess the situation." As the human ships moved into position, the crew of the Mercy couldn't help but notice the details of the alien vessels. Despite their advanced technology, there were signs of wear and desperation. Makeshift repairs, patches in their hulls, and flickering energy signatures. The first team of human engineers boarded the alien flagship 6 hours later. Led by Chief Engineer Jack Thompson, they carried basic tools and portable diagnostic equipment. The Asterians watched with barely concealed disdain as the humans pulled out simple tablets and handheld scanners. "These are your diagnostic tools?" one alien engineer asked, their tone making it clear they weren't impressed. Jack smiled as he pulled out a simple wrench. "Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. Now, can you show us to your engine room?" The alien engineer's response was cut short by a sudden power fluctuation. The lights dimmed, and a low alarm began to sound. The Asterians rushed to their control panels, their movements now tinged with panic. "Power grid failing in Section 7, one called out. Backup systems not responding." Jack looked at his team and nodded. "Well, looks like we'll get to prove ourselves sooner rather than later. Let's show them what human engineers can do." As they rushed toward the crisis, the Asterians had no choice but to follow. They were about to learn that sometimes the simplest solutions were the best ones, and that human ingenuity could work wonders, even with primitive tools. Chief Engineer Jack Thompson stared at the alien engine core, his mind racing as he tried to make sense of what he was seeing. The quantum fold drive was unlike anything humans had ever built, a massive crystalline structure that pulsed with strange energies. But right now, those pulses were weak and irregular, like a failing heartbeat. "Well," the Asterian chief engineer, whose name roughly translated to blue light, asked impatiently, "can your primitive understanding grasp the complexity of our drive systems?" Jack ignored the insult and kept studying the readouts on his tablet. After 3 hours of scanning and analysis, he was starting to see the problem. It wasn't just complex, it was brilliantly simple in its complexity. "Your quantum fold drive," he said slowly, "it's not broken. It's stuck." Blue light made a sound that might have been a scoff. Stuck. Impossible. The quantum matrices are designed to maintain perfect alignment through any spatial distortion. Exactly, Jack said, pointing to his readings. They're too perfect. When you hit that gravity well, the matrices try to maintain their alignment so hard that they lock themselves into a destructive feedback loop. They're fighting against each other. The alien engineers' crystalline features shifted as they processed this information. Even if you're correct, the only way to reset the matrices would be to completely power down the core. With our current energy levels, we'd never get it started again. Jack smiled. Maybe not with your methods. He turned to his team. Get me the portable fusion generator from the Mercy, and about 50 of those electromagnetic pulse generators we use for solar panel maintenance. You cannot be serious, Blue Light said, actual alarm in their voice now. You want to power our quantum fold drive with your primitive fusion technology. Not exactly, Jack said as his team hurried off. We're going to use it to create a controlled energy surge. Think of it like giving your engine a jump start. The next few hours were a flurry of activity as human engineers set up their equipment around the alien engine core. The Asterians watched with a mixture of horror and fascination as the humans attached their primitive devices to the most advanced piece of technology in their fleet. Commander Vale arrived just as they were finishing the preparations. Your Captain Reed informed me of this plan. Are you certain about this? Jack looked up from his final checks. Commander, sometimes the most complex problems need simple solutions. Your drive is stuck because it's trying too hard to be perfect. We're going to help it relax a bit. Relax. Vale's crystalline features flickered with confusion. A quantum fold drive cannot relax. Watch us, Jack said, then turned to his team. Everyone clear. When I give the signal, we're going to send a synchronized pulse through all 50 points. The fusion generator will provide the power spike we need to restart the core. The human engineers took their positions. The Asterians moved back, their body language showing clear distress at what they saw as a violation of their precious technology. 3, 2, 1, now. 50 electromagnetic pulses hit the quantum fold drive simultaneously. The fusion generator hummed to life, sending a massive surge of power through the system. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the crystalline structure began to pulse with new energy. The Asterians rushed to their control panels. The quantum matrices are resetting. Blue Light called out, their voice mixed with disbelief and excitement. Power levels are stabilizing. The feedback loop is breaking. Jack watched as the engine core began to glow with its proper light, the pulses strong and steady. Sometimes, he said to no one in particular, you just need to know when to give technology a good kick. Commander Vale stepped forward, their crystalline features glowing with what might have been respect. It seems we have much to learn from humans. Your unconventional methods have achieved what we thought impossible. This is just the beginning, Jack said, already checking the readings for the next step. Now we need to figure out how to keep it running stable. And for that, we're going to need every bit of human ingenuity we got. The Asterians looked at their newly functioning engine core, then at the simple human tools that had saved it. Perhaps they were beginning to realize there was more than one way to solve a problem in this vast universe. The success with the main engine core was just the beginning. As human engineers spread throughout the massive alien fleet, they faced new challenges on every ship. Jack Thompson coordinated the effort from the command center they'd set up on the Mercy, where both human and Asterian technology now worked side by side. Report from Ship 47, called out Lisa, one of the communication officers. They'd got their life support back to 60% using parts from our water recycling systems. Jack nodded, marking another green dot on the holographic fleet display. Good. What about the civilian carrier in Section 3? That's the problem, Lisa said, her face concerned. Power levels are dropping faster than expected. Engineer Rogers says they got maybe 2 hours before total system failure. The Asterian liaison, Blue Light, stepped forward. That vessel carries over 10,000 of our young ones. If the environmental systems fail. Not going to happen, Jack said firmly. He studied the fleet display for a moment. Get me Rogers on the line. The engineer's tired face appeared on the screen. Behind him, human and Asterian crew members worked together, their earlier prejudices forgotten in the face of crisis. Talk to me, Rogers, Jack said. What's the situation? Their power distribution system is shot, Rogers explained. We've tried bypassing it using our equipment, but there's too much load. We need something bigger. Jack thought for a moment, then smiled. What about the Mercy's backup fusion core? Blue Light's crystalline features flickered in alarm. You want to remove a fusion core from your own ship? We've got 2 backups, Jack said. We only need one. Rogers, can you adapt it to their systems? With the Asterians' help, yeah. Rogers nodded. But moving it will be tricky. These ships weren't designed to link up with each other. Leave that to me, Jack said. He turned to the bridge crew. Get me Captain Reed. The next hour was a carefully choreographed dance in space. The Mercy maneuvered close to the civilian carrier, maintaining position despite the gravitational interference from the Kuiper Belt. Space-suited figures, both human and Asterian, worked together to disconnect the massive fusion core. Careful with that connection. Jack's voice crackled over the radio. One spark, and we'll have bigger problems than power failure. The teams moved with precision, using simple tools and complex alien technology together. The Asterians had begun to appreciate the human approach. Sometimes a wrench and some ingenuity were better than the most advanced automated system. Core is disconnected, Rogers reported. Beginning transport. Everyone watched as the fusion core, guided by thrusters and tether lines, slowly moved through space. The civilian carrier's power levels continued to drop, now down to 15%. 10 minutes to critical failure. An Asterian technician announced, their usual calm voice now tinged with worry. The fusion core was nearly in position when one of the tether lines snapped. The massive device began to spin, its momentum threatening to send it crashing into the carrier's hull. Stabilizers aren't responding, Rogers called out. We need. On it. 2 human spacewalkers had already launched themselves toward the spinning core. Using their suit thrusters with remarkable precision, they grabbed the loose tether and managed to stop the spin. Now that, Blue Light said softly, was impressive. The core was quickly secured and connected. Power began flowing into the carrier's systems, just as the old ones were about to fail. The cheers that filled the command center came from both human and Asterian throats. Power levels rising, the Asterian technician reported, now with clear relief. Environmental systems stabilizing. The young ones are safe. Jack looked at the fleet display, where more green dots were appearing by the hour. They still had a lot of work to do, but they were making progress. More importantly, humans and Asterians were learning to work together, each bringing their own strengths to the massive rescue operation. You know, Blue Light said, their crystalline features glowing with what Jack had learned to recognize as admiration. Perhaps being primitive isn't such a bad thing after all. Not primitive, Jack corrected with a smile. Just practical. Sometimes, the old ways still work best. Deep within the civilian carrier that had nearly lost power, a group of young Asterians pressed their crystalline faces against the observation window. They watched in fascination as human engineers worked outside the ship, performing repairs with nothing but handheld tools and determination. Why don't they use repair drones? One of the young ones asked their teacher, who had introduced herself to the humans as Morning Light. Because, she explained, humans prefer to do many things themselves. They say it gives them better control. The children watched as a human engineer, Mike, expertly welded a patch onto the hull. He worked without any automated assistance, relying only on his skills and experience. To the Asterians, used to letting machines do all dangerous work, this was revolutionary. Inside the ship, Jack Thompson was giving a quick lesson to a group of Asterian engineers. They had gathered around a table where he had laid out various human tools: wrenches, hammers, manual diagnostic devices, and other primitive equipment. Sometimes, Jack explained, picking up a simple wrench, you need to feel the problem to fix it. Machines can tell you what's wrong, but they can't always tell you why. Blue Light, who had become something of a bridge between the two species, nodded in agreement. We have observed that humans have an unusual ability to improvise, to find solutions where our protocols say none exist. The lesson was interrupted by an alert from another ship in the fleet. Power fluctuations were threatening their food production systems. Without hesitation, Jack and his team grabbed their tools and headed for the emergency shuttles. You would risk your lives, one of the Asterian engineers said, for a minor system failure. Minor to you, Jack replied as he checked his spacesuit, but those systems feed your people. And we don't leave problems unfixed, no matter how small. The Asterians watched as the human team launched toward the troubled ship. Their efficient movement through space, their quick response to the emergency, their willingness to face danger, it all challenged the Asterians' preconceptions about primitive species. In the medical bay of another ship, human doctors worked alongside Asterian healers. The humans had brought their own medical supplies, and while their methods seemed basic to the Asterians, they'd proved remarkably effective. Your species continues to surprise us, the chief healer told Dr. Emily Ross as they treated a young Asterian for stress-related crystal fatigue. You use such simple tools, yet achieve remarkable results. Emily smiled as she adjusted a standard human heart monitor that they'd modified to work with Asterian biology. Sometimes the simple way is the best way. Your advanced scanners are amazing, but they can't replace human intuition and experience. The young patient watched with interest as Emily used a basic stethoscope to listen to their crystal resonance. It doesn't hurt like the big machines, they said wonderingly. Throughout the fleet, similar scenes were playing out. Humans worked tirelessly, facing dangerous conditions without complaint, solving problems with creative solutions that the Asterians would never have considered. Their determination and courage began to earn them not just respect, but admiration. Commander Vale stood on their flagship's bridge, watching the humans at work through various camera feeds. They are not what we expected, they said to Captain Reed, who had come to provide a progress report. Humans rarely are, Mark replied with a smile. We may not have your advanced technology, but we make up for it in other ways. Indeed, Vale agreed. Your people work in vacuum without fear, solve complex problems with simple tools, and show a level of dedication that humbles us. Perhaps we were wrong to judge your species by your technology alone. A group of young Asterians rushed past the bridge entrance, excitedly discussing their latest observations of human repair techniques. Vale's features glowed with amusement. The young ones have taken quite an interest in your methods, they noted. They ask endless questions about why humans do things the hard way. Sometimes, Mark said, watching a team of his engineers teaching young Asterians how to use basic tools, the hard way teaches you things the easy way can't. The warning came from Earth's solar monitoring stations. A massive solar storm was heading straight for the Kuiper Belt, and the fleet had less than 6 hours to prepare. The radiation levels will be lethal, Captain Mark Reed announced to the combined human-Asterian command center. Our ships can handle it, but many of the refugee vessels don't have adequate shielding anymore. Commander Vale's crystalline features pulsed with concern. Our shield generators are operating at minimal power. We cannot increase coverage without risking complete system failure. Jack Thompson, who had been quietly running calculations on his tablet, stepped forward. What if we didn't need to shield every ship individually? All eyes, human and alien, turned to him. Blue Light, now familiar with Jack's unconventional thinking, leaned forward. "Explain." "We create a shield web," Jack said, pulling up a rough diagram. "We position the human ships in a protective formation around the refugee fleet. Our shields might be less advanced, but they're stable. We can link them together using modified communication arrays." "Impossible," one of the Asterian engineers said. "The power requirements alone would be massive," Jack finished. "But we don't need to maintain it forever, just long enough for the storm to pass." Mark studied the diagram. The Mercy's shields were designed to protect against solar radiation. If we could extend them. "It's not just the Mercy," Jack said. "We need every human ship we've got. We form a protective shell around the most vulnerable refugee ships. The Asterian vessels with working shields can help reinforce the web." Commander Vale's features flickered as they processed the idea. "The risk to your ships and crews would be considerable." "That's what humans do," Mark said simply. "We take risks to save lives." The next few hours were a blur of activity. Human ships moved into position, forming a rough sphere around the most vulnerable refugee vessels. Engineers from both species worked frantically to modify shield generators and communication arrays. "Shield web test starting," Jack announced from his station on the Mercy. "All ships, report status." One by one, the human vessels checked in. Their shields began to extend, reaching out to connect with each other. The effect was visible. A shimmering web of energy forming in space. "Power drain is higher than expected," Lisa reported from her engineering station. "We're pushing the generators to their limits." "First wave of radiation approaching," an Asterian sensor operator called out. "Impact in 10 minutes." The command center was tense as they watched the massive solar storm approach. The shield web flickered as energy particles began hitting it. "Shield strength at 80%, Lisa reported. 75, 70. Suddenly, one of the human ship's shield generators failed. A gap appeared in the protective web. "Rerouting power," Jack called out. But the gap was too large, and the storm was intensifying. That's when something unexpected happened. 3 Asterian ships moved into the gap, their own weak shields flaring to full power. "We will help protect your ships," Blue Light announced, "as you have protected ours." The combined shield technology of both species created something new, a hybrid defense that was stronger than either could have managed alone. Human determination and Asterian technology working in perfect harmony. For 2 hours, they'd weathered the storm together. Ships' power systems were pushed to their limits. Crews worked frantically to maintain the shield web, but they held. When the storm finally passed, there was a moment of stunned silence in the command center. Then cheers erupted. Human and Asterian voices joined together in celebration. "Damage report?" Mark asked, though he was already smiling. "Minor radiation leakage on 2 ships, Lisa reported. "Nothing our medical teams can't handle. Everyone else is safe." Commander Vale turned to Captain Reed, their crystalline form glowing with what could only be described as pride. "Once again, your people have shown us that the simplest solutions are often the best. A shield web, it should not have worked, yet it did." "That's the thing about humans," Mark replied. "We make impossible things work because we don't know they're supposed to be impossible." 1 month after the first distress call, the massive Asterian fleet hung in orbit around Neptune. Their quantum fold drives were fully repaired, their systems stable, and their people safe, but none of them seemed in a hurry to leave. On the observation deck of the Asterian flagship, Commander Vale and Captain Mark Reeves stood side by side, watching as human and Asterian ships moved smoothly through their joint patrol patterns. "Your council has formally offered us sanctuary," Vale said, their crystalline form glowing softly in the dim light. "Many of my people wish to accept." Mark nodded, hiding his smile. Over the past month, he'd learned to read Asterian expressions better. Vale was pleased, despite trying to maintain their formal demeanor. "Earth would welcome your people," he replied. "We have much to learn from each other." In the main engineering bay, Jack Thompson was surrounded by young Asterians, all eager to learn what he called the human way of solving problems. Blue Light watched from nearby, their features bright with amusement. "Today," Jack said, holding up a simple wrench, "we're going to learn why sometimes you need to feel the machinery to understand it. Who wants to try first?" Every crystalline hand in the room shot up. The young Asterians had developed an almost obsessive interest in human engineering methods. Their natural ability to manipulate complex technology, combined with human practical knowledge, was producing remarkable results. "They will be a new generation of engineers," Blue Light observed, "neither purely Asterian nor human in their methods, but something better, a combination of both." In another part of the fleet, Dr. Emily Ross was working with Asterian healers to create a new medical bay that combined both species' technologies. Simple human diagnostic tools worked alongside advanced Asterian scanning equipment, each complementing the other's strengths. "The portable scanner is ready for testing," Emily announced, holding up a device that looked like a marriage between a human medical tricorder and Asterian crystal tech. "Who wants to volunteer?" On the bridge of the Mercy, Lisa was teaching an Asterian communication officer how to use human emergency protocols. "Sometimes," she explained, "the simplest signal is the most reliable. That's why we still use basic radio as backup." The Asterian officer nodded, their features bright with understanding. "Like the shield web during the solar storm. Simple, yet effective." The success of the rescue mission had attracted attention throughout the galaxy. Other alien species, who had long dismissed Earth as a primitive backwater, were now sending diplomatic inquiries. Humanity had proved that technological advancement wasn't the only measure of a civilization's worth. Commander Vale called a joint meeting of human and Asterian leaders. Their message was simple but profound. "We came to your solar system by accident," they said, addressing the gathered crowd. "We thought ourselves superior, advanced, beyond the need for help from primitive species. We were wrong. Humans taught us that true advancement isn't just about technology. It's about creativity, courage, and the willingness to help others without hesitation." Captain Reed stepped forward. "And you taught us that we have more to offer the galaxy than we realized. Together, we're stronger than either of us could be alone." The decision was made. The Asterians would establish a permanent settlement in the Neptune orbit, creating the joint human-Asterian space station that would serve as a center for cultural and technological exchange. As the construction began, Jack watched from the Mercy's window as human and Asterian construction teams worked together, each bringing their own methods to the project. "You know," Blue Light said, joining him at the window, "when we first arrived, we thought we were experiencing the worst disaster in our people's history." "And now?" Jack asked, though he already knew the answer. "Now we understand it was actually our greatest fortune. We lost our home, but we found something more valuable. Friends who showed us a whole new way of thinking." As Neptune's blue surface rotated slowly below them, human and Asterian ships continued their dance through space, no longer two separate fleets, but one united force. The rescue mission had ended, but the real journey, the journey of two species learning and growing together, was just beginning.